Lawwin Media Network.
Bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
Business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawwin Media Network.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Paint Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Carly D., a doctorally prepared nurse, educator, mentor, professional development specialist, and victims advocate and survivor. The show is brought to you by Lawwin Media Network, and you can catch us every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, either through our YouTube live channel, Facebook live channel, Twitch TV, in over 18 different podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and Google. So, as you all can see, I'm back today with a new hairstyle. I always like to keep things fresh and try things new. I'm still kind of getting used to it. I haven't been short in a while, so we'll see how it goes. I love my hairdresser. Shout out to Miss Queenie. She always does an amazing job at keeping me looking good and fresh. So it's been an exciting season 3. I can't believe that we're already at close to the end of season 3. It's been a great season so far. We've had a bunch of wonderful, terrific guests this past year. And I'm just so delighted for what's coming up in season 4. We're going to have a lot more exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks when season 4 begins. So as a recap for season 3, I wanted to go over some of my personal favorite episodes. So we started the season off with Scholastica Bassi. She's a nurse practitioner turned author who wrote the book with a very controversial title called How to Beat My Husband's Mistress. So we had a fantastic conversation with her that talked about marriage, relationships, and infidelity. So let's watch that clip with Scholastica Bassi.
So how was I inspired to write this book? Many years ago, the author of, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling. So when she wrote the book, I didn't read, by the way, I didn't read any of her books, but what actually inspired me was how she got the idea to write the book. I don't know if the audience knows, but she got the idea to write the book while she was riding in a train from Manchester to London. And while in that train, she got that inspiration to write the book. And then I started praying, oh, God, give me idea. Oh, God, give me idea. But I wanted an idea to invent something. I didn't want to write books because I'm like, that's too much work. I wanted to invent something. So on this, I wanted an easy way because I think at that time, I thought writing a book would take too much work. That's what I thought. So I started praying to God, oh, God, give me idea. And he did. But my idea was after work in Johns Hopkins. So, I used to go to work, change in the car, drive to church. One fateful day on my way to church, I heard that still voice say to me, how to beat my husband's mistress. It was very loud and clear. And I look around. I'm like, what? How to beat my husband's mistress? And then I asked the question, say, what do I do with this information? And the gentle voice said, you can write a book with it. So went home, And then one more thing, one fact, I don't want to forget that. I'm trying to give credit to whom credit is due, which is God. So I was on my way to church, got to church. Of course, church has already started. This was after 12-hour shift. So I knelt down, joined the church service. The second I stood up to join the common prayer, my pastor said from the altar, there's somebody in this church. You will write a book and you'll be known by the book. I could not believe it. I went back down on my knees. I'm like, what?
Wow.
God, you really want me to write this book? Okay. So that's how that ended. Went home, never wrote the title down. Woke up that morning. I'm like, let me just write this title down. I picked up my iPad and said, let me Google what people have written about how to beat my husband's mistress, because, of course, it's a problem that has been in the past. It is today, and it will continue to be a problem wherever you have husbands and wives or people in relationship. But to my surprise, there was no book with that title. But there were books with how to beat my husband in chase, how to beat my husband in divorce, how to beat my husband in golf. But nobody wrote how to beat my husband's mistress. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to. And then I said, God, if you want me to write this book, you have to write it through me. And he did. When I sit down to write it, ideas come. I never for once said, what should I write? What shouldn't I write? Ideas will come, ideas will come. So this book has 24 chapters, but the original version was 30. I was complaining that I wouldn't have what to write. Then I had 30 chapters. Sadly, I deleted some of the chapters, which I regretted today. I deleted some, and some I moved it to other chapters. So that's how this book came about. I know people ask, did your husband cheat on you? And the answer is no. Now you know this, how I got the inspiration. It's not from my experience. So the book is to help anyone in relationship beat their husband's mistress. The book is loaded.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And like I said, at first I'm like, okay, is this like it kind of sounds like a Tyler Perry movie,
I want Tyler Perry.
Has to
So
be
Dr.
my-
Curly, if you have connections, please let Tyler Perry know about this book. I want it to be into a movie.
Tyler Perry. Yes, this needs to be a movie.
Thank you in advance.
Because that's yes, because that's automatically what came to my mind, because it's like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, all those titles that kind of reminded me of that. And so I'm thinking, okay, this book is going to be about a cheating husband and some people getting together to beat him up and, or whatever. I was looking for a juicy tale. But I like your spin on it, because it's more of like a self-help inspiration. Yes, what a wonderful episode. Scholastica Baskey, she has also written other books titled Prayers Over My Black Sons and I Love Myself, I Don't Care What You Say. Great author, great person, and a fantastic nurse and health practitioner. And Tyler Perry, we're still waiting on your call. You got to definitely turn that book into a movie. I'm sure that it will help inspire a lot of people who are interested in saving their marriage after infidelity. The reason I love that book is because a lot of times people are ready to throw the marriage away instead of trying to work on their conflicts and their differences in the marriage. Not all marriages have to end in divorce after an affair. So Scholastica tells women how to work on saving their marriage, even through those challenges and difficulties. So thank you again, Scholastica, for coming on our show. The next guest that we had this season was my personal mentor. He worked with me as my preceptor during my doctoral capstone project from 2020 through 2022. He's an inspiring and inspirational nurse, health practitioner, and he also holds many doctoral degrees and certifications. He works as a palliative care nurse, working with people who are suffering and dying from cancer. He also has dedicated his life and works to textbooks in healthcare and nursing, and he also gives speeches at conferences throughout the nation. He has dedicated his life and career to helping others, and now he mostly works on encouraging the next generation of nursing leaders and practitioners. He wrote a book recently that talked about looking at life from a different perspective. The title of his book, I still cannot pronounce, although he said it for us quite well on the show. So let's take a look at Dr. Gary Shelton's clip on Pink Table Talk.
This is very exciting for me.
Yes, thank you so much. And I see you've been very busy, always into so many different things. That's kind of what inspires me to keep going. To continue pursuing my own certifications and just other professional endeavors. So for our audience members at home, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your professional career?
Well, I don't speak like a New Yorker, other than I can speak fast. I'm born and raised in Illinois. I am from a small town of less than 20,000 people. I mean, I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere because that's not kind. It's where I grew up, and it's a fabulous place, of course, for the people who live there. I was not seen as the most interesting person or the smartest person, or I guess I wasn't seen as the person who might be the most likely to succeed. So I left that small town as soon as I could. But it wasn't particularly nurturing for a boy who wanted to be a nurse. And I knew early on that really was what I wanted to do. So, I don't want to be the poster child for somebody who's successful and started that way. And we will talk a minute about a project, and my next book will be about bullies, but that's a side story. So I'm from small town, Illinois, near Chicago for the arts, for the shopping, which, changed my life a little bit. But I was really reared in Southern Illinois in an even smaller community. And the option for me, once I decided that I was ready for nursing, regardless of what people might think, becoming an LPN was my option, because in the junior college, that was what was offered. I became an LPN, and I was so proud to be that. And then I did a 2-year bridge program to become an RN. I moved to Central Florida and got a job on the telephone. I want to live in Florida by the ocean. Did the LPN to 2-year RN program there. Started a bachelor's degree, started a master's degree, moved to New York City then and got my first master's at Columbia, then got my second master's, which was as a nurse practitioner, then got the doctorate. So probably other people wouldn't go the same sort of route, but for me it was kind of necessary because of my upbringing, where I was from. I kind of needed to be at those levels for a while to know who I was, to understand what I could do and be, and I needed sort of that training as an LPN to communicate with people. To be an RN, I was so proud when I was able to put RN after my name. Oh my God. To get RN magazine and not be lying about it. But I mean, for knowing me, I needed that reinforcement of what I'm doing, what I'm learning, why I want to learn more, why I need more to feel like I'm able to give back more. So that's how but it took several decades to get to who I am. And maybe other people don't need to do it quite that way.
Yes. Wow, that's quite the journey. So how many degrees in total do you have currently?
Well, I started my doctorate 3 times. So I wanted an EDD. I thought, I'm already a nurse. I don't need a doctor of nursing. I wanted a doctor of nursing science, what Columbia was doing, but I ended up with the doctor of nursing practice rather than a PhD because I wanted to stay clinical, and that's what I'm still doing, taking care of patients at the bedside with my other nurses, and that's the most rewarding for me because, as you mentioned, communication is my science more than the hottest, best new treatments for illness.
Yes, it's so true. I feel that a lot of the nurses today, the new nurses coming out, they're only looking at how much money they can earn and, trying to, hurry up and get into travel nursing and all those things. But I think that your journey, how you started out as an LPN and then now you're, the doctorate in nursing, and you've co-authored textbooks. I think it's such an amazing journey, and it truly shows your resilience and your passion for nursing and caring for people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who knew? My first job was $4.57 an hour. So we have come a long way from that. Of course, that was a while ago, but still.
Yes. Oh, wow.
It wasn't for the money, and I would like to think that nurses even now, obviously we have to make money and we have to earn a living, and I like to play and I can't play without working, but I don't think money really is the impetus for most of us in our field.
Yes, that was such a wonderful episode. Dr. Shelton, he's such a lovely and amazing man. His book is inspiring others to continue having that childlike innocence and continue to have our dreams and visions and to not lose sight of who we are, even though if we go through challenges or we have a tough career. Like his career, he works in palliative health. So he's always dealing with people who are in pain or who are sick and dying from cancer. But even with that, he still maintains his childlike innocence and tries to keep his visions on the horizon to stay youthful and kind on the inside. So we're going to go to our first break of the evening, but stay tuned for more recap of season 3 of Pink Table Talk. Welcome back to Pink Table Talk. The show is produced by Law and Media Network, and we are doing a recap tonight of season 3. We will have a season 4 coming up in a few weeks, so continue watching, continue listening, getting great advice from love, relationships, empowerment, and continue listening to inspiring stories. And we also have some really great authors, resources, and tools that I like to share with you all that you guys can do the work for yourselves at home. The reason I started Pink Table Talk was because I went through my own personal journey of healing and emotional well-being and growth. Through that journey, I discovered excellent people who have dedicated their lives, either through coaching, through hosting support groups, through writing self-help books, or also they may have their own practices where they do one-on-one counseling and helping others to also achieve personal, professional growth. So I'm so happy that I'm able to come and sit with you all each week and give you all something that you can take home and that can help you to develop and to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. So, on our third episode this season, we spoke with Olivera Yankowska. She told us about her journey as an immigrant from Macedonia to now she has been in public service for 14 years. She has dedicated her service to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, and she is even the recipient of two major awards. One was the 2023 National Civic League All American Leader Award, and she was also a recipient of the 2017 U.S. President Volunteer Service Award. She has also made some children's books in honor of her son, who is of Macedonian and Indian heritage. She talked to us about embracing our multicultural heritage and not just only saying we're half. So let's take a look at the clip with Oliver Yankowska. And so I'm just so happy that I finally get the chance to have you here to be able to share your wonderful journey and story with my audience.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So for our audience members at home, and we have international audiences, tell us about your story. Tell my audience about who is Olivera.
Sure. Well, if I actually share the entire story, I think we will need an entire season. So I'm going to try to shorten it. But I'm blessed to actually have a story. And I think a lot of people will find ups and downs of stories that people share inspiring rather. So grew up in a very small town in southeastern Europe from Macedonia originally. I grew up in absolute poverty. My parents both do not have college degrees. They raised us primarily with farmland production. So I've really not had any exposure as I was growing up to anything but a small town community. And so one thing that I'll point out over and over and over is that really education is what brought me to where I am today, and education is what really opened my eyes. Even though I grew up in such a small community with close to no resources, close to no opportunities, there's always the world of books, and there's always a chance for people to imagine what is out there in the world, and that's exactly what I did. I imagined the world beyond my little town. And so slowly I got immersed with several international organizations who have pretty much figured out that young people like myself in my country will have no opportunity. So that's by no chance. There was the British Council, there was the Peace Corps, there was UNICEF, who were providing varieties of resources from basic needs to educational support, to trainings, to opportunities, language, you name it. And so, and that's what really, I guess, defines me as an individual. I'm very curious and I want to know it all. I don't know it all, but I always want to know it all.
Yes.
I quickly went into these opportunities and started getting engaged with their offerings, and I realized there is a world beyond my little community. So
yes.
yeah, I mean it's really long, but I can maybe tell in chunks, or you want me to continue? I don't know how you want me.
Oh no, I love this story, and I share your same passion. I want to know it all, and I'm always trying to absorb more knowledge. I'm always reading things, whether it's articles or, just little postings and flyers and things. And, I'm just always trying to know as much. I want to know everything in the world. So that's a great passion to have. So what was your driving force and what was your motivation to leave that small community that you grew up in?
Well, I mean, it's a cliche response, but poverty. I saw how the world around me was so torn. I knew that there was just going to be nothing and no one, that I will just end up being like every other girl in that small community, get married, have family, do little bitty bitty things, and just life goes on. But I knew deep inside that that's not me. And interestingly enough, I come from a family of public servants, even though they were never working. Both my parents have always volunteered and supported the community. They have big hearts. My grandparents were public servants as well. And so I think there's nothing for me to do if I don't try to leap out of this place, and I just want to help the world in any way I can. I think between those two, I was able to sort of open my eyes and go forward.
What a lovely person with a genuine heart. Just seeing her talk about her struggles with poverty, coming from that small community in Macedonia to working hard, going to school, and now becoming a successful leader who gives back. Thank you again, Olivera, for coming on the show and sharing your story and your journey with us. Another one of my favorite episodes this season was with Coach D. Coach D came on season 1, where she discussed the narcissistic abuse cycle and talked about how to get out of a toxic relationship. Coach D is a certified master life coach. She also is a facilitator on the Circle Support Group app, as well as she has her own business, Coach D Consulting, where she offers one-on-one or group sessions to help people untangle their emotional issues or any challenges they may be going through, or to help them to break free from toxic relationship patterns. So this season, Coach D came back to talk to us about toxic and narcissistic relationships. So let's take a look at that clip. So, if someone finds themselves to be with either of these narcissists, what is the first step? What is the first step to break free? What should they do?
If you're looking to break free, the first step is to realize that you have to go no contact. Yeah. But you really want to first understand what's happening in the relationship. Because if you don't understand what's happening in the relationship, if you believe you're in a narcissistic relationship, you want to learn all you can about it. Because the more you learn, the easier it will be for you to stay out. Many victims attempt to get out, but then they go right back, right? Yeah. Because they don't really understand that they're in an abuse cycle, right? Until things get really, really dangerous. Or they start losing a lot. Then you start to notice, okay, I got to do something. But the more you learn about it, the more it will allow you to do what you need to do to stay out, right? To do the work, to recognize what's happening to you. Journal. One of the things that I'm always telling people to do is write down. You need a list of everything that this person has done. Wow. You need to start self-reflecting and building that list. And the purpose of that list is because you're trauma bonded in these relationships, you may have a tendency to want to hold on, hang in there, make excuses, hope for the best, try to be positive, and do all of these things. Whereas if you have that list, the moment they try to gaslight you to suck you back into this relationship, you have a record of something to look at that brings you back to reality. And that's the purpose of that list. Journaling helps, but I think that checklist really does help people who are honestly trying to get out.
Wow, that's great. You mentioned the trauma bond. Can you tell us what that is and how it's developed?
It's literally developed over a period of time of being with a toxic person that takes you through abuse cycle repeatedly. Like honestly, it's really just an emotional attachment to a toxic person, right?
Wow.
So what it feels like though, it presents like an addiction because you actually feel so attached to this person. A trauma
Mm,
bonded person really wants to protect that person. They want to protect the relationship. They want to protect the person because you love the person. It could be a family member, that you're protecting, that you will even lie for, that you will try to keep from getting arrested, even if they commit, the domestic violence. You're the one that's gonna keep things quiet because I don't want you getting arrested, so I have to protect you and say the right things. You're bonded. You're just really significantly attached to this person, and you may not even know that you're in an abuse cycle until you start to take note of what's been happening repeatedly.
yes, Coach D is always wonderful to have on the show. She's so full of great information. And she's just, I mean, she'll really get you out of those toxic patterns, whether it's with a family member, maybe a spouse, or even she talked about toxic bosses. She's just so wonderful to talk to. So if you guys are in need of any help or have any questions regarding leaving a toxic or an abusive situation, definitely reach out to Coach D. She's amazing. So we'll take our second commercial break of the evening, but stay tuned for more recap of season 3.
In a world filled with fleeting moments, there's beauty waiting to be captured. My name is Christian, and I specialize in immortalizing your most precious memories. From elegant weddings to vibrant events and timeless portraits, I'm here to make every moment unforgettable. Let me tell your story through the lens. Contact me today and let's create magic together.
Welcome back, everybody, to Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Carly D. The show is produced by Longwood Media Network, and we film live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. You can watch us live on our YouTube channel, Facebook Live channel, Twitch TV, and over 18 different podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and Google. Tonight, we're just doing a recap of season 3. It's been a wonderful season so far. We've had so many interesting guests who are doing amazing things in this life. They are giving back to their communities. They are writing books. We've had public servants, healthcare practitioners, and we've even had some excellent life coaches and yoga instructors. Last week, I had the pleasure of having Dr. Danielle Griffin on the show, who is an educator, public speaker, yoga instructor, NLP practitioner, and a somatic therapy, therapist. And she also does hypnotherapy. She actually did some breath work with me, and I felt very relaxed and very calm after the session. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing more meditation and breath work with Dr. Danielle Griffin. She also has a book called Somatic Healing that you can find on Amazon. It's a 3-book series, and that goes through different somatic exercises to heal the body of any built-up trauma and pain. So let's take a look at the clip with Dr. Danielle Griffin.
So a lot of times when we experience, especially a trauma, right? Yeah. Our body reacts. We hold those emotions, that tension in various parts of the body, whether, again, mentally or physically. And so if we do not take the opportunity to recognize how we feel and give our bodies the opportunity to decompress, relieve that stress, it continues to compound over time.
Wow.
And so remembering and feeling more connected mentally to how we feel physically, and remembering that those emotions that we carry can impact our physical well-being. And you can even, make it worse by concentrating on the pain, intensifying it, recognizing how intense does this actually feel? Is this actual pain or is this discomfort? Why am I feeling this way? Sometimes, pain is a scale, but it's also can be mental as well, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we feel certain things because of past experiences, or we're expecting it to hurt or feel a certain way, and our mind immediately intensifies it, whether it truly does or not. And so it's bringing that awareness that I have control over my own body, right?
Yeah.
Things can still hurt, but I can be in control over my emotions, how I feel, my relation to that, whether it's an interaction with an individual or that visit with the physician. I was having a conversation with my mom about getting shots and needles, right? A common thing a lot of children are afraid of, because my son had his immunizations, right? And just techniques that I learned, even a nurse when I was young gave me techniques to disassociate myself from the pain, right? And so we learn those various techniques rather than concentrating and focusing like this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. Methods to disassociate from it, to lessen the pain, to in some cases not even really feel the pain, or just reduce, being able to manage it so that you can continue to move on and function through life.
What a wonderful episode. Dr. Danielle Griffin, she does really great work with her practice, healing people from traumas, healing people from pain that is trapped in the body using somatic exercises. So if you're in need of any help with pain or getting rid of any trauma-related issues within the body, definitely reach out to Dr. Danielle Griffin. She also has a consulting page, and she also has a 3-book series titled Somatic Exercises Made Easy, which you can do the exercises yourself at home. And I'm a personal believer in the exercises. Just having spent 5 minutes doing the somatic breath work and imagery with her, I did really go home that evening feeling great. So I'm thanking you all for watching tonight. Season 3 has been wonderful so far. Next week, we're going to be talking again with Yasmin Duncan, the HR specialist and Fortune 500 company specialist, to answer any of your questions regarding any work-related issues. So it should be an interesting show. So definitely set your reminders to watch us live next week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, either through Lawin Media Network's YouTube page, the Facebook page, or Twitch TV. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching us so far for season 3, and continue to watch us to get inspiration and empowerment. Have a good night.